Hi there. So, my theme song is going to be coming up in a minute. You know, I love that theme song. I missed it.
This is a Casey Stratton podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Casey Stratton podcast after a very long absence of 1 year and 2 weeks. I am so happy to be back talking with you. It became the kind of thing where it was just, it was taking a lot of time. When I switched to doing the video podcasts, as you might remember, it became a very time-consuming process for me. It would take about 2 or 3 days. Since then, I've gotten a new laptop, thanks to my wonderful friend Terry Johnston and my photographer. I almost said photographer, didn't I? I hate when people do that. And we're back with me making mistakes almost immediately. So, yeah, now my new computer has a built-in webcam, so I'm using Ustream, which is wonderful, and that way I can be live, which is kind of fun. And the more this goes, hopefully we'll get more people to show up and watch. And I have this little chat thing over here in the to the side, although to you it's over here. It is over here to you. It's right over here, so you can chat. Not really to me because I can't reach, but to each other when there are more of you. We'll see. It's a process. For now, I think a lot of this will be me. There it is. Waves. I'm waving back. I don't have my glasses on. Contacts would have been nice. But anyway, I'll be sharing the links, and also this will go automatically to YouTube when it's done. It will record onto Ustream, so you can watch on Ustream or YouTube after the fact. So if you're watching this on either, that's what's going to be going on in the future. And now that this is much easier to do, I might do them once a week. Maybe every 2 again. We'll see. But it's really nice to be back, like I said, and I'm very sorry for my long absence. So much happening in the world. You know how I always started out with some current events. Of course, the earthquake in Japan, which was just devastating and terrible. And 9.0 now, they're calling it, after the fact, which I can't even fathom. I think the strongest earthquake I ever felt when I lived in Los Angeles was a 5.6. So about half that. Not really, but close. So I can't even imagine, and the devastation. And then, of course, there was the nuclear disaster after that with the power plants. I do believe, as I've read, that there is power to the power plants again. How ironic is that? That the power plants were melting down because they had no power. I guess if you're the one who makes the power and you're out of business, you're in trouble. So it looks like they have power set up. There's still been all sorts of radioactivity released. We won't know the full extent of that probably for some time. But of course my heart broke when that happened, and it's just terrible and awful. The tsunami that hit everything, just terrible. And so much going on in the Middle East. We saw Egypt, people protesting, mostly young people, a lot of social media usage to overthrow the government, President Mubarak in Egypt. That had happened in Tunisia a little bit earlier, but we didn't hear as much about that. Tunisia is a much smaller country. Egypt is the most populated country in the Middle East, so when that government, when Mubarak stepped down, that was a really big deal as far as things go in the Middle East. Of course, now that was a mostly peaceful protest. Not a lot of violence. The protesters were victorious in that Mubarak stepped down without a lot of violence or intervention from outside forces, which I felt was the way to play it. They wanted their freedom. They wanted it on their terms. The United States isn't seen really in a very positive light in the Middle East, especially after what happened in Iraq. They think that we've been supporting those dictators for a long time, so they don't quite believe that we really have their best interests at heart. There is a very strong belief in the Middle East, from what I've been hearing and reading, that we are there for oil and for political interests, which, you know, I'm a little skeptical too. But of course, now what's going on in Libya, Bahrain, and Yemen, Syria, those are not going as well, the protests. But I think this brings me to a point that I wanted to talk about a little bit, outside of all of that, just, you know, reciting the news, is that I think it's really interesting to see how the internet has changed the way these cultures function, because the fact that most of these protesters are young people, my generation and actually more of the generation before me. I think the internet shows these people that there is a world outside of these dictatorships. I think before, dictators and tyrants are very good at convincing everyone that the Western world or the outside world is against you. They don't want to help you. They're not interested. They're terrible. They're awful. They're heathens. They're, whatever, blah, 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 terrible people and blah blah. And I think for a long time a lot of the public would believe that because they didn't have any access really to anything outside. They had state television, and which was propaganda at its best, and that's all they had. So I think it's really interesting now that people can see that there's a world outside that is more supportive or more free, and they really are they're tired of it. I can't even imagine. I mean, I complain especially quite a bit about our leaders and such, but I can't imagine living my entire life with one person in charge of everything, and especially Gaddafi in Libya. Kind of a nutcase from beginning to end. So yeah, we're getting involved. I'm conflicted about it. I'm never one to really talk about, or to think that military action is the answer, but at the same time, he's Fruit Loops, and he has nuclear weapons and blah, blah. What do you do? I don't know. I'm watching it unfold and we'll take it from there. But I am hoping for the best for the people of these countries. I mean, when you take everything out of that equation politically, I really just hope to see an end to the violence and for these people to get a different government if that's what they want. And that doesn't even necessarily mean that what they want is a democracy, which is somewhat of a misnomer, I think, or the wrong way. I think a lot of people in the West see they want democracy. Not necessarily. They want change. Granted, some scary forces, worse forces, can sometimes infiltrate these unstable cultures. The Middle East is a hornet's nest. It always has been. What do you do? Moving on. I don't want to talk about this the whole time. Oh, yeah, I can see clocks and everything. I forget how this all goes. It's been so long. What else was I going to talk about? I know there was something, and now I can't remember what it is. Yeah, okay, I talked about Libya. I talked about Japan. Isn't there something else going on? Whatever. So I forget. Oh, Elizabeth Taylor died. Jeez, this going into the pop culture segment. Terrible, but I have to admit, I said this to a friend, I was almost relieved on some level because, one, she's had health problems for so long, and two, just mercilessly hounded by the media her whole life. I felt like on some level, yes, I'm sad to see her go, but I was like, oh, finally she has some peace. She can take a break. Michael Jackson can do a little dance up there and everybody's good to go wherever they went. But I mean, awful. I don't know. I didn't see it coming because she's always getting sick. And she really is iconic. I'm not normally one to get I kind of keep celebrity at bay to a point where I enjoy a lot of performers, but I don't let myself get emotionally too involved. But I did feel a very strong feeling when I heard the news that she had died yesterday. Because it just didn't seem like she was ever going to go, She was like a powerhouse. But, and just such an amazing actress. And, I mean, when she was on. She gave it her everything. And she was just such she was a movie star, We lost Audrey Hepburn. We've lost so many of them. And she was, the movie star for so long, and just her jewelry and her life and her perfume. I mean, she was Elizabeth Taylor. But outside of that, the work that she did with AIDS starting in 1985, when really nobody wanted to talk about it, especially anybody in the public eye, who had something to perhaps lose. And especially when the government at the time was not really addressing the crisis the way I feel they should have. And she really took that torch and ran with it. So, I think we're all really indebted to her legacy on so many levels. So that was sad to see. I did not see that coming. But, hope she's in a better place. Her life was something. So good for her, So moving on. Let's talk about Here the City. That's my new collection that's available at store.caseystratton.com. Oh, I just remembered I was going to make little cue cards that said, the addresses of things because I can't, tell you. It's all good. Store.caseystratton.com is not hard to remember. But it's my Bandcamp store, which is fairly newish. And it's much easier than my old digital store was. You just download one zip file. You can pick your audio format out of many formats, including very high quality audio formats like FLAC or Apple lossless encoding. So that being out of the way, the plug. Hear the City is my newest work of new material. I also released some stuff from the Divide days called Castaways about a month ago now, a little less, 3 weeks ago. But Hear the City is about a trip to New York that I took in January to see good friends, including my friend Anne, who everybody please. She is in the hospital at the moment with all sorts of stuff, which is actually very serious. So if you could send out a little positive energy, prayer, whatever you do, I would appreciate it, because she's been my manager for a long time, and we worked together when she was at Sony. Anyway, I went to New York to visit her and to play a show and to go to an Interlochen reunion performance, which was amazing. We'll get to that in a minute. And to just reconnect with some people from the past, try to get the ball rolling again. I just thought, I had a life in New York. I know a lot of people there. I had done a lot in my career, and I think for a long time after that. And this is part of what I wrote about when I wrote the collection Hear the City. I call it a collection because it's not quite an album and it's not quite an EP. It's kind of like Messages Sending was. I don't really consider it like the next album, but it's too long to be an EP. So it is what it is. It stands alone. The cheese stands alone, which I won't go to Wisconsin because we'll save that for another time. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I thought, for a long time, I think when I went independent after I left Sony, I felt that I was out of the club, that I was out of the game. Like I tried and it didn't work, so I'm out. And I forgot that it doesn't really work like that. It does for executives. I think that's the thing. I think I had lived in Los Angeles for so long before this, for 6 years, from 1995 until 2000, end of 2000, that so 5.5, whatever. For full disclosure, 5.5 years. I had this mentality because I had seen so much of it. Like, what have you done lately? Well, so what if you were on Sony? You got dropped or you left. So what if you were on a hit sitcom? That was 5 years ago. I mean, that is a lot of the LA music industry, movie industry, TV industry mentality. So I think I had in some ways been brainwashed to that. I forgot how creative people are. Those of us who work together creatively, you forge these bonds that are very strong, and it doesn't matter really whether the project succeeds or whether it fails, because you are creating something. It's not really about a pecking order. You would think it would be, but it really isn't. And I find that the higher up you go on the ladder, the more that is true. So I went back while I was in New York, and I had a lunch with my dear friend Kevin Killen, who mixed and engineered Standing at the Edge. He has worked with basically everybody in my on my list, everybody that I love. If you look at my list of influences, it's pretty much, he's worked with every single one. So I really wanted to work with him when I made Stand at the Edge. I think I talked about him a lot, or a few times before in the old days of the podcast, but it's a new era. A lot of you are probably going to be new coming on board. So just, if I'm repeating myself for you diehards, you're used to it probably, and it's okay. So, met with him. He gave me a great pep talk. And then I just did all sorts of stuff. I was in New York in the wintertime. I hadn't been there in the wintertime, except for when I lived there. So I had to have something to do all day long, so I wouldn't be freezing to death on the streets. So I had to have a plan. And I realized that when I lived in New York, I just stayed home in the wintertime. Like, that's what I did. I watched TV. And I waited for Sony to yell at me about something. But, so... yeah, I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I went to the Natural History Museum. I went to the public library on 42nd Street, where I saw an amazing exhibit called Three Faiths, which one of the songs called The Library. The song called The Library is about the library. Isn't that tricky? That was very clever of me. It was an exhibit of all these really ancient texts that they had found. Some of them handwritten, some of them from right when the printing press was just made and being implemented, which of course made a huge impact on the Bible and the Quran and the Torah. It was basically Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, and there were, you know, the plaques, you could read all this stuff about everything, about the different books, and you could see how similar they were, and you could also see where they came from and how they started to converge with the politics of the time. So it was really interesting to see how much religion, the main world religions, have in common, because I think the more that time goes on, the more people focus on the differences, and really at the heart of it all, it's kind of the same thing. And I think philosophically, it's the same. I mean, that's the thing. And I hope, always hope, my hope in life is for world peace. Is for people to be better at understanding that people have different belief systems. And if you're aiming for positivity, for love, for forgiveness and acceptance and tolerance and all those kinds of things, that's good, you know? And a lot of religion is based on where you're born. I mean, let's face it, you can't really help with that. So, you know, there's a lot out there, and that was part of it. Anyway, I'm going kind of ahead of myself. So when I got home from New York, I had this amazing trip. I decided that I would write a little song cycle. I would take different days of the trip, and I would write about something that happened that day. But I had to do it in a way that wasn't going to be too specific to me, because I'm not that arrogant. I mean, please, come on. I mean, I'm a performer, so I got some ego. I'm ready to go. Like, come on, give it. Like right now, here I am podcasting on Ustream live for all to see. Like, yeah, I've got that part of me. But at the same time, I understand that I want to make music that's accessible to people, to think of their own thing, to apply it to their own lives. Anyway, so I came home and I wrote a bunch of songs about that. So if you want to check it out, it is at store.caseystratton.com. You can stream the whole thing, speaking of streaming. And then if you like it, you can buy it and add it to your collection. And every time people buy music, especially in the Bandcamp store of mine, which is store.caseystratton.com, that I get 90% of the sale from there. With iTunes, I get about $5 per record. So think about it. I get half there of $10, which is not good. Well, it's good. It's fine. I mean, I'll take it. But as an independent musician, if you really want to support my cats eating and me eating and paying my rent and making more music, and the more I have peace of mind that I paid the rent and fed me and fed the cats, the more I make music, because I'm not stressing about money. So that's just my little play about that, because it's been a tough time. And you know, being a musician gets harder and harder, and I know it's been hard for everybody. But you know, if you got a couple extra bucks, or you want to add it to your collection, please do. And I love you, and I thank you, and the end of that. But anyway, one of the things that I wrote about was my Interlochen reunion performance. It was an informal, impromptu, unofficial. It wasn't affiliated with Interlochen really, but it was sanctioned by them. We met at a bar in the East Village, a bunch of us from all different time periods, mostly the late 80s and early 90s alumni. And we did what was called a coffee house that we used to do a lot. Oh, I got a shadow because times change. The sun is moving outside. Yeah, we used to have this thing called Coffee House at Interlochen, where you could sign up to perform, and then you would go up and do a song or two. And I was kind of like the king of Coffee House at my time there, because that was where I could get up and do my own work instead of doing all the classical stuff. So I opened and closed the show in New York. See, there's that ego again. No, I'm just kidding. They asked me to. So I was first and I was last, and I got to play, and I played one song of my own that I wrote about my time at Interlochen, You Never Touched the Sky, which is on the Lily Sleeps B-sides. And I also performed Pretty Good Year at the beginning, and then I closed the show with Precious Things by Tori, which was really fun, because I used to play Tori covers like constantly. So I had to go back and do it. It was fun. But we had this amazing night. I stayed out all night. Of course, I was like the last one to go home. Like me and my friend, Chris Kuzmi, like closed out a bar that he owns. And then we went to a diner and ate. And wow, people are even talking. Hi from France. Hello from the US. Comment allez-vous? Ah, j'adore la France. So yeah, it was an amazing experience. And just seeing, I'm so connected to my Interlochen people, it's out of control. Like I love them beyond belief. And the fact that we went to boarding school there. Oh good, I'm glad that you're doing well. Ça va bien aussi, moi aussi. Now I'm speaking in French, which I just wasn't prepared for, but next time I'll do more. I'll do a little practicing. I've just been saying I really, really, really want to go to France again. For like 6 months or something. That would be amazing, because I've forgotten how to conjugate verbs. Like, I can speak in present tense, but the minute I try to go into past or past or future tense, I freak out. So, anyway, aside. So I got to hang out with all my interlocking friends. It was amazing. But I'm going to play now for you, because it's been so long since I've gotten to do that. My sound check, the piano was okay. Oh, thank you. Merci bien. Je peux parler français un peu. I used to be much better at it. So this song is about my meeting with Kevin Killen, my lunch with Kevin Killen, and it's called Inside Out. Wendy did not care for that at all. She was afraid I got hurt. I'm okay. Say hi. Furious, thank you for the claps. I gotta see what you guys said. I don't have my glasses on. Hold on. Yeah, it is compression. I gotta compress it so it doesn't, you know, go out of control. But I have it compressed for the old way, so maybe I'll lower it for next time. Don't you think? A little bit? But yes, it is a Neumann TLM 103. Yeah, it's hard to know. I did as much of a sound check as I could, but you know, I'll get to watch this back, like you guys can, because they're recorded, and then I will make adjustments for the next time. Wendy, I'm so sorry. She's over here and she's not amused at all. So, oh well, it's always nice when they show up. That's why sometimes I have trouble when I record, because if I do loud, high vocals, she kind of freaks. But yes, anyway, thank you so much. That was Inside Out, and I did have a lot of compression on it, so I'm always glad for people to tell me. But anyway, merci les amis, actually merci mes amis, and I will see you la prochaine fois. It was really nice to it, which means the next time. Sorry, maybe there is a need for translation, speaking of that song. But thank you to all of you for showing up. It's really fun. I didn't expect anybody, really. I only expected maybe 1 or 2 people to come on and chat with me or whatever. And next time I'll wear my contacts so I can see better what you're saying. It's a learning process. I've never really streamed before. I've never done really streaming anything. Usually I used to record the podcasts and all alone, and then I'd put them up. So it is interesting to have this back and forth going on. Do you see what you were playing with the pop? Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, I can look around it and I can look this way. He's asking if I can see what I'm doing when I'm looking with this pop filter in front of my face. Actually, normally the pop filter would be a lot further away if I'm doing a song, but when I'm just speaking most of the time, I have to put the pop filter much closer to get a better sound. And see, that does sound better, but it looks bad. But yeah, I can see, I look around, but you know, when you play the piano for a long time, you kind of know where you're going, which is good. Anyway, this is kind of fun that I can answer questions. It's the he's asking me if I had the Roland RD700 keyboard. This is the Roland RD300 keyboard, which is the cheaper of the two. But I love it. It's like playing a real piano. I've had it now for almost 6 years. It's my little baby. So yeah, see, this will be fun. Like, if next time I'll have more advance notice, like podcast is happening this particular time, and then people can come on live and ask questions, and we'll do more of a question and answer kind of thing. Speaking of, if you do have questions or it's something that you would like me to talk about, you can email me at podcasts, that's plural, podcasts with an S, podcasts at caseystratton.com. You can ask me questions on Twitter, which is twitter.com/CaseyStratton. You can head over to Facebook, which is facebook.com/CaseyStrattonMusic. Of course, my website is CaseyStratton.com. There are a million ways to get a hold of me online. Feel free to submit questions. I copy and paste them and put them in a little file, and that helps me to think of things to talk about in the future. So yeah, this is super easy. So I'm thinking maybe we'll do them once a week. We'll play it by ear. I'll probably get into the habit of trying to do them around the same time, but I might do them later for people. I don't know. It's hard because people are in Europe, like you're in France, and so for you, it's what, 11:30 p.m., which isn't too bad. But here in the States, it's 6 o'clock where I am and 3 o'clock in the Pacific Coast, and people are working and are on their way home from work. Anyway, I'll figure that all out as we go. It's a process. It's a fluid and living organic process. But it's been really fun hanging out with you guys for 30 minutes, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.